It's Podquester time now, it is Podquester time.
Hello, friends. Kayla and I are accidentally matching tonight. I don't know how that happened, but I'd love to see it. We are both wearing... Yeah, we're just feeling it. We know what's up. But thank you so much, Kayla, for being with us tonight. We're so excited that you're here.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be back on Podquester. It's amazing.
Yay. Well, this was a hell of an episode. Lots of unexpected things. From what happened, from the twist to the elimination match, I did not know what was going to happen.
I kind of felt like it was all planned out already. Like, no matter how people voted, it was going to be Jacob and Muna going against each other, but then in the battle match, obviously could have gone either way.
Yeah, that's true. I did feel like, so we start the game with Jacob going to luxury row, and he used the same envelope that Muna picked, so we already knew there was nothing in it. And he confirms us. I was glad that we didn't have another's power in this game. I think that would have been overwhelming. I
agree. What was left? It was a battle pass, and was that it?
That was it. So,
okay.
His old power was recycled back in, since he was the only one who used his power.
So he probably wouldn't have been able to use that anyway, but he could have maybe given it to somebody else.
Right. Yeah, he could have given it to Natalie. Obviously, I mean, I think he could have tried to flip the votes onto Natalie, knowing that Muna had the LOS, and then use the battle match pass to make sure he didn't go in.
It sounded like pretty much everyone wanted Natalie safe, though.
Yes. I mean, for the most part, I think that Billy might have switched it if she hadn't. I'm not sure, but I think that, Billy might have switched it if she hadn't gotten the permission from Muna to vote her out.
I almost felt like he needed to get something. He knew that too, because he had burned so many bridges. Like, he comes back and gives a nice little speech. Like, he has to kind of make nice and be like, hey, work with me, even though, I'm being chaotic as fuck.
Yeah, even though I've burned every one of my allies, I'll be a good ally to you.
I have a tremendous amount of love and respect for all of y'all here.
The speech was, one of the more simple speeches that we've heard, which I kind of appreciated. I think that at this point, they were kind of just ready to get into the game, and everyone was like, we know how this goes. So we didn't see the large, elaborate speeches that we've seen in the past from other people.
I will say that the music the whole time was so intense. Like, my heart was beating so fast. Like, you didn't even realize it at first. It was like you're in a horror movie and something's going to happen, but you don't know it's going to happen. And I just thought the music the whole time was on point.
It was not good for me, like, on a health-wise. Like, I wanted to fast forward. Like, I am somebody who mutes things, sort of like in horror movies and stuff, and I'll mute and unmute or fast forward during certain things. And so for me, I was like, no, I have to watch it. This is really hard. But yes, the music was definitely part of the anxiety that was happening. What did you think of the twist this round? We go straight from there into the twist of the night, which was a lot more simple than all of the other twists.
I think, like, just on a surface level, without talking about how each player tried to game the twist that round, I like things like this because it really forces you to have to reveal information to other people, even though you might not want to. And I think the perfect time to do that is when you're getting towards the end. And I think it just sets up for, like, chaos and messiness. So I liked it.
Yeah. I think I would have preferred only one or two people being safe. having half the cast save and unable to even be picked for the battle match, especially when we had 2 LOSs in the game. It was just really difficult.
Yeah, that's why I was saying that I felt like once the 3 and 3 were picked, it was kind of already set up what was going to happen. So I think it would have been interesting. And I wonder why the decision was made to have you can only pick for the battle match from the 3 people that were not safe instead of out of everybody.
Yeah. Especially, I think it would have been interesting to see. I think if Muna had gone in, she might have picked Natalie, is the only thing. But I kind of doubt it. I think you're right. I think in the end, it would have been her and Jacob.
I feel like in the end, Muna's the kind of person where she even said it tonight, she plays with her heart. I don't know if she would have picked Natalie just because she'd already told her, like, I'm not going to go against women. And she also told Jacob, I'm not going to pull you. I feel like she would have stuck true to that. Because I feel like once she's already...
But she told them both that, though.
What's that?
She told them both, I'm not going to pull you.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, if it was from everybody, I don't think that she would have maybe picked either of them. But since they were the only options, right, that kind of put her in a tough spot.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think that the game made her put in that weird position. I just, I wish that there had been more options. But I think that she did do Billy a big favor by telling Billy to go ahead and vote for her. I really like the way she gave that with her heart. What did you think?
I like that too, because you can tell, like, Billy obviously does not want to vote for Muna at all. And like I said, I don't think it really would have changed the outcome too much. But I think that was a good move because obviously everyone knows that Muna and Billy are close. But I think actually voting for Muna shows other people that, yeah, me and her are tight, but I'm still like a flexible, fluid player. And I tell you, I'm with you and I'm going to do what you want me to do sometimes. It's not just always like Billy calling the shots and like refusing to budge on certain votes. So I think that was really good.
Yeah. I mean, if Billy had voted for Natalie, obviously it would have been like there would have been like a 2-2-2 tie. And I can see how people would have been like, that would have been better for Muna, but it really wouldn't have, because then they would have gone to a revote, broken the tie. Josh probably would have used his LOS on Natalie there, and would have been at Jacob versus Muna again. So no matter, the game forced this result in a way that was kind of frustrating to see, just like the lack of options. We saw this earlier where the game forced the result. I'm trying to remember where Billy was the killer, I think.
Yeah, and there's only like a couple. What episode was that? The second episode?
Or the third episode, when there were only a couple of people that the person could have chosen from.
Natalie.
Natalie ended up moving against Katie when she should have chosen. When it was weird that she didn't choose Billy. Everything considered, but I think that it's just, especially this short to the game, it's really hard to watch the game format, and that's just something that happens, sometimes. No matter what the twist, you can't predict everything. There was no way to predict that Muna and Josh would still have LOSs at this point. But ooh,
I would love to ask Natalie if she would have refused the LOS, because she kind of in her confessionals made it seem like, I don't know if I would want to accept that or not. And so I would love to see what she would have done, because I like that she was kind of like, you know what, I want to keep battling because that would just add more things to my resume, and to take that chance. It's like the fire making. Like, should I go for it just to show that I can do it? It's a big risk, but it would pay off.
It is a big risk. I don't think I would do it. I mean,
no. Like a few safety? No.
No, I can make a big move at 5 and 4 still, babe. I ain't got to battle nobody to like, you know what I mean? And
I like the confidence.
Yeah, I do. I do like the confidence, but for me, it's a negative. No, I'm going to take the LOS. You say you have an LOS? Great. Hand it over right now.
That's what I would have said. Well, put it in my pocket instead of yours.
Yeah, there's no reason for you to have it, bro. You're not up. Go ahead and hand it to me. Let's make this exchange, and we're solid. But I do think Natalie has one of the better reads on the house. So I think that her reading that was interesting, because she is seeing that people think she is the GOAT to take.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that she's definitely going to have to step up her game at 5 and 4, and I hope she does, because she definitely is recognizing other people's perception of her.
Mm-hmm. I think something that serves her well, though, she's a very good talker. Like you see that from the last episode. She really knows how to sell herself, I guess, when she's talking to the jury and to people. So I think that she would be able to spin everything from the game in her favor. But I agree that she recognizes that people look down on her. You can tell it. Everyone's like, oh, Natalie, I'm so proud of you. It's like, why do you feel the need to tell her that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you say she's a good talker, but in the last round, she only used 1 of her 3 minutes. And didn't speak and kind of didn't have anything else for the other 2 minutes. And that concerns me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's good to be concise and be powerful, but you have to use your whole time, or otherwise other people they're going to use their whole time. That's what Muna and Billy did. They used their whole time, and that's why they were convincing. And why she wasn't convincing is because she kind of petered out after her initial discussion. You need to do what like Billy did, which is speak to each member of the jury. So while Natalie is a good speaker, I'm concerned that in comparison to somebody like Billy, who knows how to use those speaking abilities, she's going to kind of fall behind a little bit.
Yeah, I think if you're like putting them against each other, like there's no way that I think that there's not a lot of like a chance for most people to beat Billy, like especially just like having her being the killer and pulling that out. I really want to see how people react to that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm really interested. That's a good question, because I asked people in the exit interviews, and they mentioned that they didn't know about it until they watched the episode.
Oh, okay.
So if Billy gets to the final 2, she doesn't bring that up. But Billy also has a lot to talk about. So
that's true.
I'm hoping that's not an indicator. Now I'm just like reading every single thing that everybody says, right? But I think that, Natalie has she knows what people are thinking about her. Speaking of good reads, I think Josh has a decent read on the house. I think he didn't need Muna in the final 4, even though he had made a final 4 with her. He didn't need her in the final 4. He needs somebody in the final 4, but he can take his pick right now of Jacob, Spencer, or Billy to get out in the final 4.
Mm-hmm. He does seem to be very central to all the plans that are going on.
Yes. Comparatively, maybe not so much with Spencer. That boy, I don't know. It was just hard. He talked he had a conversation with every single person, and then at the end he was still like, wait, who am I voting for? I'm like, boy, you need to know who you're voting for. You don't need to ask other people. That's not a great indicator that you're in control of your game. Or that you even understand the game.
Yeah, I think it's difficult because you just have so many conversations and there's so many different plans that could play out. And it's like, okay, well, now I don't know where everyone's head's at. I made my pitch, but other pitches have been made. And you just have to try to figure out what everyone else is doing, which I cannot imagine is very easy.
No, that's true. That's very true. It must be very confusing trying to follow all your lies and all your truths and figure out who's which plan that you've discussed is the actual plan. But
I think that Josh just like straight up lounging during all the strategic talk was so funny. Like that just shows he's like, I'm good. Like I don't even have to get in people's faces. I'm just gonna lay here, do my thing, and it'll be okay. I thought that was so funny.
I thought a really amazing moment was when Muna was like, vote for me. And he was like, okay. Like I was like, at that moment, like Muna had to be like, I know you're going to vote for me anyway, apparently.
Like that was a little too easy. He didn't have any hesitation.
Yeah, he's like, no deal, no problem, I'm on.
What did you think of his strategy during the challenge where telling people like 1 for 1, you fill me up, I'll fill you up type thing?
It worked. I thought that was really smart because I don't think that like he has very many number ones. Billy's pretty much the only one on his side, and yet he still got the safety. Spencer getting the safety was weird that we didn't get Spencer's. I want to know what Spencer thought of that.
It definitely would have gotten in my head because then I would always be like watching for him and I wouldn't be paying attention because if you think that his eyes are on you, like you can't really deceive him. And so I feel like that definitely would have gotten in my head, would have tripped me up, like having him constantly yelling at people like, I got you, you got me. I think that it had like multiple different benefits of him playing it like that.
Natalie definitely caught on to his strategy. And she wasn't feeling it. So we love to see that. Natalie is analytic queen for sure. She just has a hard time, I think, implementing her strategies. And so I'm looking forward to when she's in a smaller group. Hopefully she'll have more control.
I love that she knows what's best for her own game. I just don't think that always lines up with what other people want. And so I think that's where it gets tricky for her because other people more often they want the same thing and it doesn't always line up with what like she wants or needs in the moment. I think that one time it did is when Jacob and her tried to voted out Muna during date night. But I feel like most of the time what she wants isn't like the majority.
Yes, and that's my concern is, again, I don't think she's that persuasive because she's had multiple chances to try to persuade people to vote out Brendan. She tried to get people, she tried to get Spencer to take out Brent and Brendan before she moved on to Shireen. And I mean, I just feel like she's not persuading people to do what she wants. And it might be the format of a game because it's a very frantic game and she's not a frantic player. So it might be the format of the game, but I like that's my concern for her if she gets to the two is that she's not made anything. She's not managed to persuade people. So how is she going to persuade a jury?
That's a good point.
And then we have Jacob Jones, first of his name, first pink on the leaderboard. We love to see it. He was not safe, and
I thought it was interesting in the beginning how he told Natalie and Spencer he wanted them to be a 3 for the challenge, but then during the challenge he was encouraging Billy, and so like I feel like he was definitely trying to like psychologically like play that challenge for sure.
Yes, I think he definitely wants to be everybody's friend still, right? It's kind of like what you were saying in the beginning with his speech, but he was also kind of doing that in the challenge itself. Making sure that everyone knew he was still on their side, and reducing his chances of getting voted out or getting a battle match.
I feel like his demeanor has just changed a little bit, where like, he's a very confident person, but there's just something that seems more like solemn or sad or maybe like a little hesitant when he talks or gives confessionals now. I don't know like if he feels unsure about something, but I just feel like his tone has switched a little bit.
I do think that there's like maybe a little less fun in it, right? Like he was having a lot of fun being the villain for a minute. And I think that the consequences of those relationships might be weighing on him a little bit in this game.
Yeah.
Because he did come in our pre-interviews. He was the Lost Ones, the Podquester. But in the pre-game interviews, he said that, you know, he was going to play up the fact that he was supposed to be loyal and stab everybody in the back and care until he won. And I think that he overestimated how little he could care, right? If that makes sense. He overestimated his ability to be emotionless in this game. And I think, you know, he might still be keeping his vision tunnel, but that doesn't mean that he's not feeling it a little bit.
That's something that I've been thinking about is in a lot of the preseason interviews, every single player basically said that I will do whatever it takes, but once I get to jury, I'm not going to be bitter. And now that the game has actually played out, and it's getting towards the end, I'm trying to think what is the jury actually thinking, because Muna was using that as an argument tonight, like the jury thinks this way and that way. And I don't know if that's like what they are really thinking. And so I've just been having fun trying to figure out the route that they're going to take with that. Like, are they going to take things personal? And yeah, all that good stuff.
I would love to get some jury house footage. I would love to get some jury house footage.
Same. Release the tapes.
That's what we were asking for. But I think that putting Muna in is it actually worked out really well for Billy too, though. We think about, Muna's going to be Billy's biggest advocate in the jury.
Mm-hmm.
That's somebody that you want to be your advocate for. So if Billy gets to the final two, she's going to have a huge, huge leg up on a lot of people. If you don't want your best talker sitting beside you in final two, you also don't want them in the jury talking shit about you.
Yeah.
So it's very delicate how you have to play. My concern for Jacob is I feel like he's playing round by round, and then final two is all he thinks about.
I was just about to say that, round by round. It hasn't been cohesive.
Right.
Sometimes you got to do that. That's how...
When your back's against the wall, I just think it would have been better to bring in Natalie, honestly. It would have been better for him to battle out and take out Natalie. I don't see that happening because, Jacob has been burning all of his allies, right? So Natalie is like one of the few allies he has left.
Mm-hmm.
So to burn her would have been very hard. But at the same time, I don't know who he thinks is his meat shield now.
Yeah, if everyone wants Natalie to stay in too, then that's a spot that they are taking away from him too.
Right. If everybody wants to sit next to Natalie, nobody wants to sit next to you. So I don't know who he thinks they're going to vote out at 4 particularly. What do you think? What do you think his plan is here?
I really have no idea. Every week I'm surprised. I think it really depends on what the twist is at 5 and if someone gets safety at 4 or no, just kidding.
I was like,
or get safety during 5 and then can't get voted out at 5. I feel like that is something that we see a lot, like at least in mini games, is someone having safety at 5 is what I meant.
Yes, and I do love a safety at 5. I think he'll survive 5 easily, but I think he goes at 4. I think he's the big threat that you take out at 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has 2 goats up there. He doesn't mind sitting next to Spencer or Natalie. And you just don't need that many goats in a game. Not when your other option is to take out your meat shield, which is Muna. So he took out his meat shield, and now he's up front and center. And I think he might think Spencer is his meat shield, but people would rather sit next to Spencer than him. 100%. Everybody, Muna made it clear. The jury fucking hates Spencer. The jury made it clear on their way out. 90% of the jurors were like, and fuck Spencer. So especially the early votes. So I'm not 100% sure why Jacob thinks that Spencer is a meat shield.
I think the next move would definitely be, like, from Jacob's standpoint, it would have to be taking out Billy or Josh. Because, like, they are a pair, and they also, I feel like, are playing very strong games, and that would be competition for him.
Right. And I don't think that Jacob thinks Josh is playing a good game.
Right. Like, even Marcelo said it last game that he thought that Josh wasn't doing anything, and so that makes me wonder, like, are people not saying that he has been talking to the people that have been controlling the game? Like, he's definitely a part of that.
Yeah. In the exit interviews, when I ask people, like, who they think is playing a good game that they didn't see as much in jury, but they see now on the TV screen, a lot of people are being like, oh, Josh is playing an amazing game, and I wish I'd seen a lot more of that. So I do think that people in the game are underestimating Josh, including Jacob. So I don't go for him.
It's easier for us because we see everything and they don't.
I know, right? I'm like, you fool! Didn't you hear his confessional? But I think that he might go for. It's just hard to go for Billy. I don't know if he's going to have the support to go for Billy because I don't think Spencer or Josh are going to flip on Billy.
Mm-hmm. So I feel like if you flip on Billy now, like, you don't survive later.
Yeah.
I feel like the time to take out Billy has passed. Like, people have had opportunities to pull her into battle matches and didn't. And so I feel like from here on out, it's just going to be a steamroll like it has been because their social game is just too good.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely think that, Billy gets to the final two if there's not some sort of twist that gets her out at 5.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to drag her at 4. And I think that Jacob will be there to vote out at 4. So I don't see it happening. I think Spencer and Natalie go next. That's it's major speculation. That's my speculation, is that either Spencer and Natalie go. We've got our final four. Jacob goes, drags maybe Josh, and whoever's left is with Billy, and Billy wins.
I can see that. You heard it here first, y'all. Suzi just predicted the whole end of the game.
Yeah, Brendan was also my winner pick, so we all know I don't really know shit.
I have not checked my
draft cluster.
Yeah, not at all.
No, I don't want to see. It hurts my heart.
Right.
I always draft queens that come back, though. I drafted Ashley Mitchell for the challenge, and she came back and went back out. I don't care. They're icons. So same thing with Muna. Drafted Muna. She went out and came back and went out again. I don't care. Icon. I'm not wearing my veil tonight, though, even though Muna went. I think Muna went on her own terms.
I was going to say that I loved her energy. Even right before the battle match, you could just tell that, like you said at the very end, that she felt at peace. You could just see that, like, she came to do, like, it wasn't about winning. That would have been awesome. It was just about showing, like, who she is, what she can do, representing, and she did it. And I love her. And I'm so glad that she got to go back in the game and that we got to see more from her, because she definitely made an impact on the game as a whole and to the viewers.
For sure. I mean, I don't know how that game would have gone if Muna hadn't been there. Certainly, I don't think we would have seen this Marcelo Jacob Jones blow up. I think Spencer might have gotten his game back on track, but I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I think, we've got a great final five, but we had an amazing final six. Mm-hmm. Is how I feel about it. I am pretty happy with most everybody winning. Not completely, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm happy with most of these people winning. And I think that anybody who does, I'm not going to be able to deny their resume. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I've been very impressed with how social, and I think that, what's been great too is that almost everybody's been voted out except for Billy in almost everybody's battle match, which means that everybody's battle match except for Billy. So I think that, people have really earned their place.
Mm-hmm. Because no one's been eliminated from the game, technically. Like, everyone that's gotten pulled into a battle match has been the one to leave, except for the Brent and Spencer one, but that doesn't really count since they both had to go.
Yeah. But I do think that, it says a lot about the fact that none of them are playing scared either. Mm-hmm. And we love to see it. Yes. And I do think that these are also people who kind of care about each other to a certain extent, which is also always nice to see. I think that there is a lot of just playing strategy at this point. Not a lot of personal, beef going on. And I'm glad to kind of see some of that. Now, would I prefer to see that if Jacob was left versus Muna? Yes. Obviously, I'm Team Muna. I'm, not going to hide that I'm Team Muna. But I'm also not going to hide the fact that I think, I voted for Jacob Jones to win War 1. I think he's an amazing player. So if he wins, I will be very impressed.
I feel like personal beef has been a lot of people's downfall. Either they resolve it or, they're gone. Yeah. It's hard to play with people that you have a relationship with, which is one thing that makes this game so interesting to watch and see how the relationships that you came into the game with evolve and how new relationships form.
Mm-hmm. I know there was a lot of talk in the beginning of the season that, pre-game relationships were unfair and hurt unknown players' chances. And I just think that this definitely proved it to be the opposite, that mm-hmm. people with pre-game relationships were the ones who ended up getting hurt, being targets. That's what happened to Katie. That's what happened to Muna. That's what's happening to Jacob to an extent, and Marcelo, is that their pre-game relationships and alliances are what's hurting them more than anything. The season 4, the 4 women of color who stuck together, none of them knew each other before the game, mm-hmm. and they formed the strongest relationships by far.
I think it's definitely like an added level that you have to navigate, which makes playing the game even harder when you know people that are there, because you don't know what people's perceptions are. You don't know how that if that person's on the same level as you. And saw that with Jacob and Muna. Like there was lines she wasn't going to cross, and he was like, "I'm going to cross them."
Yeah, yeah, and it's about different priorities.
Mm-hmm.
I think you had that experience in Mini when you were like, I have my own priorities, and my priorities are friendships, and I don't care if I don't win. I think that was in Rivals, or
Yeah. That was a special case based off who I was with.
right, but exactly, you can't predict who you're going to be in a game with,
Mm-hmm.
and it's about who you're with. Like there are some relationships and some people who have different priorities, and for Muna, the winning was not her number one priority.
Mm-hmm.
It was like her number 3 priority after representing and playing with her heart. Then number 3 was winning, and I think that she's probably happy with where she stood. And where she ended up. And I think, a lot of people can't leave this game saying the same thing.
I agree.
It's scary and sad. I hope everyone's okay.
Same. I always wonder after each episode, I'm like, do they still talk? What's going on? I need more tea. How did this affect them?
Yeah.
Because we play minis, obviously, and that affects you. So then just thinking about it, actually real life, in person, playing for higher stakes.
Yeah.
What does that do?
So much harder. I cannot imagine. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I never want to be in an in real life game with Sharifa Yasmin. Like, as friends, we could not withstand it. We know that now. We know that for sure. She agrees with me. Like, if we saw each other in a real life game, the first thing we would do is turn around and be like, all right, one of us has to go. Rock, paper, scissors, but we're not playing this shit together.
Who's it going to be?
No. So I feel like, it's just about your different relationships and how to focus on them. And it's hard to be on the same page. You don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I can make a deal with you here and now, and then like a year from now, we'll end up in a game together with somebody else that we're both like, oh, we made a different deal with that person. Like, you can't fucking predict it.
I think one of the hardest things, too, about the live version is not having, like, obviously they're not talking in between rounds. And you don't have a lot of time in rounds. So a lot of times you just have to guess and take what people are saying. And you might have the wrong read. You might think they're lying and they're not, or you think that they're being truthful and they're not. And I think that's one of the hardest things about the game is just not, like, the amount of time that you have to actually talk to people is very limited, and you have to make it count.
Mm-hmm. And I think that it also affects how certain people play. I've said it like a lot that I think that Natalie probably would do better in a game like Big Brother, where you get a lot more alone time with people, where you have 24 hours a day to chill with people and kind of build relationships instead of 10 minutes. I think, that's a very different game. I think maybe Brent would have even, I don't know. Do you think Brent would have done better or worse in a game where he could hang out with them 24/7?
That's a very loaded question that I don't want to answer while being recorded.
Okay. I'm just not sure. Like, I think that, like, after a while you get to know Brent, and so you like understand him, but at the same time, you're like, you're driving me fucking crazy.
That's what I was gonna say, is that I don't know him that well on a personal level, but I feel like the people that do know him on a personal level, like, see him differently. So I think, like you said, it could be better for him, but then they're probably can be annoyed too. I agree with you 100%. I feel
like he needs 1 or 2 rounds of safety so people can get over being annoyed with him and just like understanding him and getting on his level. But I don't know. I think it would be very interesting to see this game even longer. Obviously, I want live feeds. Obviously, I want like Jury House. I just want all of it. They are all playing such strategic games that I just want to see it extended.
I think the exciting part is that as the seasons go on, we are going to get more and more every single time until it's at this place where we have everything we could ever possibly want from Sequester, because we're definitely being fed right now, and it's not going to stop.
Yeah. What did you think of the battle match itself?
I thought that one interesting aspect was that some of the balls seemed to be the same color but a different shade, and so that added an extra level of, like, you really have to be paying attention. I liked it because it was just like you're in one spot. It's not really based off athleticism, and it's just really anyone's game. It's just based off of how fast your hands are moving and how fast your brain can work. And like, it was a split second between who was going to win, which was crazy. You love a close match.
I thought they were very evenly matched. Muna's a word expert, but Jacob is long armed, and he's no slouch in the brains department either. He's also very smart. So I think that it was a great matchup, and I really couldn't predict it for a second. I was really like, she might do it. She might do it. That was the moment when I was like, I need to turn off the music. It's giving me too much anxiety. But in the end, he pulled it out.
It was impressive.
And it's only going to make him a bigger threat.
I would have loved that challenge because that was one of my favorite games playing in school growing up. The teacher would just put a bunch of letters on the board and you have to figure out like what the word is. And I was a nerd and I loved that. So I think I would have been good at that challenge.
Like Boggle. I'm actually not amazing at that. I mean, I'm okay at it. I'm better at figuring out like a long phrase or something. If you have like words like blanks and stuff, I can figure that out pretty well. But giving me a bunch of letters and telling me that it's a word, I actually usually have a very difficult time. So I'm glad it was not me.
Yeah, Jacob's like, the F can't go in the middle. And it's like, it is in the middle. And then Muna's like, oh, it goes in the middle. And so they gave us hope for a little bit. And then you never know what's going to happen.
Oh, and it really was just a second, it seemed like. So, but I'm proud of Jacob and Muna. I think they both played a really good game. And I think that, this was really straightforward in a way that was interesting. Like, everybody respected each other's game moves here.
Mm-hmm. And, we didn't get a fight tonight. That felt weird. It was a shorter episode. There wasn't any fighting.
No time for emotions. I mean, I think that, as the limited game moves, I think, helped that, right? Because they couldn't really blame anybody because there were only so many options to go by here. I think Muna was put in a weird position where nobody wanted her to go to the final two except for Billy. And you just can't convince people you're not a threat.
Yeah.
So, she had her back against the wall. And she played everything she could play. She played her LOS. She tried to bluff. She went into the battle match. She played her hardest. I don't see how anyone can disrespect her game here. There was literally nothing I can think of that she could have done to get out of this situation.
Yeah, she definitely played the game start to finish. Like, she was just always doing something, which is impressive.
Mm-hmm. And even during the twist, when everybody was filling it up, when she noticed she was definitely going to be up for elimination, when she was going to be a flop, she stood back and instead of trying to rush and figure out how to get more in hers, she decided to take that moment to understand people's relationships. And I thought that was really smart too.
I think that would have been more beneficial if everyone would have been able to have been pulled into the battle match, because I'm wondering how that information could be used past this round when everything's already kind of out in the open.
Mm-hmm. I think it would have helped in round 5 and 4 to try to figure out who you could flip, right?
Because I did say at the beginning that I liked this because I thought that it would cause messiness and chaos to have things like that revealed. But then the more I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking that a lot of those relationships were already out in the open, and maybe this twist would be a fun one to watch at the beginning when people are still lying to everybody and you don't know where people actually stand. Yeah,
at 8, maybe 8 or 9 would have been interesting to reveal some things. Though Spencer definitely wouldn't have gotten safety then. That's for sure. Look how far he's come game-wise.
Yes.
What can you do? Well, it was a fairly short episode this week. I think we're ramping up for a big one next week, which will be our last episode of the season.
I'm sad.
I'm not ready for it.
When we were first planning out dates for everyone to be on Podquester, I'm like, oh, January is so far away, and now it's here, and we're to the last episode, and I just want it to never end.
No, me either. Do you have any last thoughts for this episode?
I don't think so. I'm trying to look through my notes. I feel like I pretty much said everything that I wanted to touch on.
Yeah, I thought it was amazing that Billy couldn't go into a battle match. Spencer being unable to figure out Jacob Jones, I couldn't quite understand what he was saying there. He was like, why is he a big threat? I don't get it. It made me laugh. I was like, well, what do you consider a big threat if you don't consider Jacob a big threat?
Mm-hmm.
Muna is a big threat, but not Jacob. I didn't understand that.
One question I had is that for a minute, it looked like Billy and Muna were going to stage a fake fight. And I was wondering how that would play out and if people would actually believe them. Because at that point, it was common knowledge that Muna had an LOS, I feel like. And so I don't know like what that would have done to help their game if they pretended that they were fighting.
Yeah, I think that was before it was common knowledge. Mm-hmm. It was before she told Natalie for sure, and before she told Josh, and I don't even think she ever told Spencer. I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember her telling Spencer, but no, she did because she was like, Spencer, vote for me. So but it was before that. So I think the idea was that she was just like. They were going to pull basically a Dan's funeral situation. Whereas she was like, you know what you did, you're dead to me. Dan was, trying to separate from that way. But obviously that unraveled when she told everybody she had an LOS. But I think that she did convince Josh and Spencer or Billy did convince Josh and Spencer that she was more loyal to them than Muna because she said that before they knew she had an LOS.
Mm-hmm. Which was important.
Okay, well, I think that wraps us up for this week's Podquester. We're very excited about next week, the last week of Sequester, and keep your eyes out here. I know Muna's in Spain, but we're still going to try to grab an exit interview with her. Via the internet.
Yeah, she's not living her best life. I am loving keeping up with everything that she's doing.
She's a queen. She's a queen, and we love it. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kayla, again for being with us, and we look forward to the final episode.
Thanks for having me on. It was great talking with you.